Hello, Kamlesh.
Hi, hello.
Yes, yeah. Now you are audible. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Akash. Hello, everyone. This is Kamlesh Patel. As you can see, I am Android lead at DSC DYC COE, and today we'll be getting started with Android development. So let's get started. Before that, we should have some ground rules. I would like to suggest you guys that you do follow as many of as possible. First of all, do not spam in the chat box. Check the Q&A section before asking the questions. If the same question exists, then just upload that, and all links and resources will be provided through event wrap up. So let's get started. Hello everyone, Kamlesh Patil. Hope everyone is staying 6 feet apart and taking all necessary precautions. I would like to tell you one thing, that this isn't the same as all other menial sessions. Yes, we have attended shit ton of sessions before that, but I am your fellow student. I have been in your shoes, faced almost all the similar problems. So I can assure you that one thing is gonna be a fun, right? You guys gonna have fun, and ta-da. Before starting, I would like to tell you something about myself. My name is Kamlesh Patel. I am currently staying in Kalyan. I completed my diploma from Bandra Government Polytechnic, Mumbai. And recently I moved to Akodi and joined DYP COE for Information Technology Engineering. I believe these six pictures can describe me better than anybody else. First of all, I love trekking, then exploring, and football and another Coco and team games. And my other interests are web development, Android, and cross-platform Flutter. I read somewhere that everyone should have three hobbies: one to earn, one to stay fit, and one to stay sane and find your happy place. So after that, I decided to have three hobbies. First one, to earn and bring bread to my table. So for that, I love programming and coding and developing. My second hobby, to stay fit, I like to do sports and trekking and exploring. And to stay sane, as many of you already know, I love to binge watch movies and shows. Moving further, before we move further, I want to ask you one thing. Guys, are we gonna do this? Are we? Because I know I'm not the Dora the Explorer. You're not the 6-year-old dumb kid sitting in front of the television and just telling, look around, look around. I will not be asking you this same question, dumb question. So, moving further, Slido.com. I want to ask you guys one thing. That one thing you know about Android. It could be the framework, it could be the language, it could be your favorite application. So, what is the one thing that you would like to tell me? So, you can just visit the Slido.com and enter this code. Once again, the code is 63497. If possible, open in Chrome and move further. As I said earlier, this is not the Dora the Explorer, so I would like to ask you all to participate. What is the one thing you know about Android? It could be anything: the framework, the language, the types of the file. I'm expecting results from everybody. Please do participate. You can enter more than one responses. Keep one thing in your mind. In case if you want to ask any questions, the live Q&A will be also available here, right next to the uh, poll. Great that somebody knows here what is manifest. OS, XML library. Yes, it is true that it is built on Linux kernel. Android is operating system. To develop Android apps, you need SDK, software development kit. OS, it is an operating system. Great, guys. React Native is one of the one of the cross-platform development tools. You can use the JavaScript to develop those apps. That Android Oreo is one of the latest OS. Emulator, exactly. If you want to develop some apps and you do not have a physical device, you can run those apps and try to execute them in an emulator. It is a virtual device. Main activity.java is the file that you need whenever you open an app. It is the first file that is opened. If any of you have any questions, you can also go to the audience Q&A right next to the poll. And if the same question has been already asked, you can just upvote that question instead of repeating that question. As somebody said here, shift to the KT of Flutter. Yes, most of the companies are migrating to Kotlin. KT stands for Kotlin. And Flutter is also a great tool to develop cross-platform apps. It is by Google, of course. I am overwhelmed by seeing all these responses. Thanks a lot, guys. So keep entering them. We will move further. Android application development. As you all already responded, there are lots of things that come to your mind when you hear Android application development. You develop the apps which run on Android. And I don't need to explain what is Android to you. It is the single thing that you are obsessed since morning to the night. Okay, moving further. Agenda for today's meeting. The agenda would be first understanding and learning the architecture and the components of Android Studio, the various languages and frameworks that you use to develop the Android app. We'll be also taking a brief tour of Android Studio, then understanding the file structure. And we cannot execute the Hello World app, but I will be able to show you the code snippets, and how to execute it. And then we will little deep dive into the development side. What are the other tools and functionalities? Then there is cross-platform versus native development. It is a hot topic that everybody is discussing. And and why Flutter? Why Flutter has been in so many trends nowadays? And by the end of the session, we will be undertaking Q&A. Let's see. What is the architecture of Android? Architecture of Android. Here are applications, home, dialer, SMS, MMS, IAM, application frameworks, the content providers, resource managers, telephony managers, Android runtime, libraries, hardware, kernel. So pretty much same thing. You all already know, right? I know what you all must be thinking. What the hell was that? How can I dumb it down? Dumb it a bill down. So here it is. First of all, I designed this basic diagram to help you understand. First of all, there are four levels to the architecture of Android. The basic one is Linux kernel. As one of you earlier said, it is built on Linux kernel. Linux kernel. You all know there is hardware and there is software. How do they connect the hardware and software? There is a kernel. Kernel is the heart of a computer or a mobile or an OS. Kernel has system calls which connects the hardware and the software. System calls manages the data entry, reading, writing, and all other stuff. Then there is libraries and runtime. Libraries. You may need a structured query like structured query language, SQL, OpenGL, SSL. These are various libraries. To run those apps, you need libraries, but those apps will run upon the runtime. The runtime could be like virtual machine, the core libraries and stuff. Upon that, there is another layer which is application framework. You are running a camera app, but to open that camera, you need a driver between the camera app and the actual camera. So here in the application framework, there are all those unnecessary files, and then there is an actual application. Applications such as it could be like home browser, phone, contacts, WhatsApp, and other stuff. Pretty much thing. And then comes the components of Android. There are four basic components of Android. First one is activity. Everything you see on a screen, it is an activity. For example, you open a WhatsApp app. There are multiple chat threads. If you open a chat thread, there are multiple text messages and stuff. So that is an activity. They dictate the UI and handle the user interaction to the smartphone screen. The second comes services. Services are basically similar to activities, but the key difference is services do not happen in foreground. They keep happening in the background. You guys might have noticed when you run time machine, sorry, not time machine, clockwatch. So clockwatch happens in background. You do not know how many times or how many seconds it's calculating. But when you scroll down on in notification bar, you find the timeline. Then there is broadcast receiver. They handle communication between the Android OS and the application. If your application needs any resources, the broadcast receivers provide those communications. But there are content providers. Content providers are the ones that handle the data and the database management issue. If you need to store or retrieve any data, the content providers will do the task for you. Now moving on, as I said earlier, whenever you open an app, there are multiple screens. First of all, the login screen. If you are an admin, then you will go up to this. If you are a previous attendee, then you will go to this. This all is called activities. This is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Such as there could be n number of activities. These activities are the UI that you have designed and the user will use to understand the interface. For example, this is an UI. This is just a single screen. Hold on. Then there comes the services. Services always mostly happen in the background. If you scroll it down in the notification bar, you will find the timer, which is constantly counting, but it is happening in the background. So it will be a background service. Then there comes Android content provider. A content provider component supplies the data from one application to others on request. For example, you have a gallery app and you have a WhatsApp. You need to upload a status on WhatsApp. So what do? You don't always click the picture in WhatsApp app, right? You go to the gallery and share that picture onto your WhatsApp. So content providers are the ones who provide the content from one app to another. Such requests handled by the methods of the content resolver class. A content provider can use the different ways to store its data, and data can be stored in files, in database, or over a network. Content providers support the four basic operations. You must have heard about those CRUD operations. CRUD stands for create, read, and update. You can create the data through content provider. You can just retrieve or read the data, and you can make changes to it, update it, delete it. So that's how the CRUD providers, content providers are the CRUD operators. Moving further, this is broadcast receiver. Broadcast receivers are one of the basic components of Android. Android apps can send or receive the broadcast messages from the Android system and other applications. For example, the Android system sends a broadcast when various system events occur, such as when the device starts charging or when the device is about to boot up. See, here you are clicking on the update your UI button. Hold on, I actually clicked. Okay, so here this is the main activity. When you open an app, you proceed further to this UI. When you click upon the update button, it will send a signal to the interface. The interface will ask hello. Huh? So interface will ask for the data from interface, and then the data will be retrieved and move upon. Hold on, guys. I guess there is no point in keeping me camera on. Hold on, we will be getting back within a minute. Uh, I am just going to available this screen share. And here we are live again. So whenever you click upon this button, it will send a signal to the interface, and then interface will ask the broadcast receiver to send the required data. And whenever that another UI that you whatever you requested will come back with another activity. Now let's talk about the languages and frameworks. Languages and frameworks. There are totally two types of development. First one is Android and another one is iOS. Sorry, first one is Android and another one is, let me come again. The first one is native and another one is in native, two types, which is Android and iOS. Android mostly runs upon like 60 to 80% of devices all over the globe, and iOS also holds the huge market. iOS mostly only on run into the iPhones. But to develop the iOS, you need to understand and learn the Swift programming languages. But the tricky part is for development in iOS, you need to have a MacBook, a Mac PC, or an iPhone is must necessary. Or else, if you don't want to understand the Swift, you can also opt for the C Sharp or Objective C. Now moving upon another native development, which is our focus. Today, this is our focus, either mobile application development for Android. In Android, for past almost like 10 to 15 years, we have been using Java. But past 4 to 5 years, the Kotlin came into the picture. Kotlin is just another and advanced version of Java. In Kotlin, there are multiple basic features. Now moving upon cross-platform. In cross-platform, there are extremely a lot of options such as Flutter, React Native, but our today's focus will be upon Flutter, and Flutter uses Dart. Hold on, guys. We are back online, live. Let me just fetch my notes so that we can all move further. Android Studio. Android Studio is an IDE that you use to develop the apps in Android for Android development. In Android Studio, we will look into it. Here is how basic Android Studio looks. Here is the project structure. Here is the code that you write. Here is the preview that you usually check. How does your app look? Here are the performance stats and stuff. So you all understand those, right? Don't you? First of all, the project structure. For the project structure, there are mainly four. First one is manifest. Then there is Java. Instead of Java, there can be Kotlin as well. And then there are res files. In resolution files, you will find the layout folder, the drawable folder, main map folder, values, the Gradle script, the Java folder, and manifest folder. In manifest contains the Android manifest.xml file. In this file, you might have noticed whenever you open a new app or install a new app, there is the app always asks for permission. Would you like to give permission to access your contact or such stuff? So those permissions and those required dependencies, all that is stored in manifest file, manifest.xml. Then there comes Java. Whatever the activities and the data you write, that data mostly gets stored in Java file. The first one and the most necessary one is creating the main activity.java file. Whenever you open the app, that is the first activity that gets open. And then you can create a subfolder and you can have as many activities as you want. The Java file contains the source code files, including the JUnit REST code. Now comes the REST. REST contains all non-code resources such as XML layout, UI string, and the bitmap images. Values. You can have as many files as you want here. Then there is a Gradle build. You all might not know what is Gradle build, but whenever you develop an app to execute it, you need to have a Gradle build. And Gradle, there are two types of Gradle build. One is app level and one is project level. The project level app Gradle build contains all the dependencies which you may need to update as per the every single version of app comes along. In Gradle script, you can also add the dependencies such as it should be forward and backward compatible. For example, if you develop an app, it needs to be compatible in Android Oreo as well as Android Lollipop. That is how you do it from the Gradle script. Now, how many types of files? As I said earlier, Java or Kotlin, then there is XML file, then there is manifest and Gradle. Java and Kotlin contains the source code. XML file contains the layout. You know that as I said earlier, you can turn text and all this stuff to the app by creating those tools in XML file. Those will be of layout. Then there comes the manifest file. Manifest file is the one that you can contain the permissions and stuff, such as your app icon. And there comes the Gradle. Gradle file is something where you can add all indexes. Moving further, whenever you create an activity, this is the layout that you can name that activity. The first one always and must should be, it could be either Kotlin or Java. It can be either class or activity, or then there is all these features that you can get. Is it a super class to another activity? Is it an interface? Or what should be its visibility, public or private, and modifier ability? As we also saw earlier, these are how your activities look. This is the first activity. You can connect them via here to another activity. If you click log in as administrator, you will go here. If you log in as attendee, you will go here. Now, talking about the source code. As I said earlier, you need to create a simple basic Hello World app. This is how you do it. First of all, you have to create a package. Mostly, whenever you develop an app, it is for various industries. For example, if you are a beginner, you can just do this com.example.hello world. But mostly, you need to understand how do you do that. This should be the subdomain, this should be the domain of your company, and this should be the uh, your ending, such as like .com, .net. For example, if your company's domain is helloworld.com, so this is how it would be, like in a reverse order: com.example.helloworld. Hello is the project name, hello example is the domain name, and this is the actual domain. What is the ending of the then for there are various libraries already created in your IDE. That is Java SDK, IDE, Java RVM runtime machine. Then there are import OS. So you don't need to create everything from scratch. You can just import them. You have to import them. Then you have to in Java you always have to create a public class. The first class must be public, and it must extend the app compact activity. Under that you can create on create. Whenever you open that app, this program, this code will be executed in the same order from top to bottom. Then on create means the previous and normal जो template होता है वो automatically on हो जाएगा. Then you need to create a view where you would display the hello world text message. So that is why there is set content view. In set content view, R is resources. Under resources you find layout, and under layout you will find the activity.main. You remember earlier I said here, when I say capital R, it means resource. Under that resource, there is a layout, and that UI design file will be always be under layout. So this is how you do it. This is how you link it. In the code snippet, you have to set content view r dot layout dot the name of activity, which will always be activity.main for activity main activity dot java. Now, building a UI with UI layout editor. Whenever you go to the layout editor, this is how it would look. These are the palette for most commonly used tools. You can just drag and drop them. For example, if you want to use a button, you will just drag it and drop it upon here, and you can resize it. Here there will be basic features such as margin, padding, content, layout, color, font, everything you may need. You can use the designing tools, the layout, the containers. You can also have the Google Maps feature included in it. So this is how it looks. But always, this is just not it. You have to do it something coding as well. But so if you want, you can just drag and drop this. But whenever you want to make an actual changes, you can here or here. Here you can make changes using the tools, but mostly in a development XML file. Whatever you saw here, see, here you are, this is a blank screen. Blank screen would be a layout. We created this layout. What would be the layout width match parent? Means whatever the width of your cell phone is, it will match that. What should be the height of your app? It should be the same as your height of your cell phone. Then drag and drop the text onto the screen. You can place it into the center or left or right, and then this is how it would look. You drag and drop the text view tool, so this is how it would look. What should be its length, width, and what should be the t. Here I have wrote this down, android.text. Under that file, I have written this hello underscore world. So this is the data that will be showed onto the output of the screen. As I said earlier, this is how your screen looks when you are developing the UI. This is how the XML file looks, and this is how the preview. You can always preview what it looks. You can have it simultaneously. You can have it only on code, or you can have it only on layout. So after the intensive movement, let's move to a funnier stuff. This is exactly how it feels to design the layout, calculating the position of elements. As you might have already noticed, here you can just drag and drop them. You can just move them wherever you want. You can do the sizing and stuff. But when you are doing here, you have to calculate every position where it should be 50% margin from the left, 30% margin from the top. So it is the kind of tricky part to design that tool. Now executing the app. Let's just say you just have created the Hello World app. Now you have to execute it. You get two options. One is you can you can execute it on your physical device, which is your cell phone that you have handy. Another one is you can create a Android virtual device. Here there is an option for AVD manager. So these are all available devices. These are the running devices. For example, I can just plug my cell phone in with my laptop or my PC via USB cable. If I do that, and here it will show my OnePlus 6 available, and I can just click on it, and the app will start executing on my cell phone. But if you do not have your app right now in your hand, you can just use your Android virtual device, but which is really not recommended because it consumes huge ton of RAM, and you are not able to properly execute that. So I would recommend that you always use just your actual physical handy devices. Then you just select it and execute the app. This is how the output looks. Went up to there. You can change this text from manifest file, and you just place it into the center. So hello world would look like this into the center. This is how your app would result. And even if you disconnect your cell phone from your laptop, later on you can still access the app in your cell phone because it is installed either on your emulator or your physical device. Now, moving further, you might have noticed this app does not look good at all. I know I shouldn't be saying this, but it is a basic app to get started. But this app does not satisfy the requirements by the client. You may need to develop an app that is extremely designer and good looking. So here is our solution, material.io. You may have noticed these designs look familiar, right? You definitely have seen them everywhere on your Google, be it Google Gmail, calendar, calling app, these all show up everywhere because Material.io is also developed by Google. It is a product of Google for developing the app. Now, moving further, why you should use it. All those apps without designed for Material.io look like this, and designed with Material UI look like this because Material UI provides a prior design tools for developing the app. These are some examples which you can develop using the Material UI, which I obviously Googled. Now moving further to our another topic, which is cross-platform app development. A pretty hot topic that everyone is moving and migrating towards. There are n number of tools and platforms that you can use to develop a cross-platform app. First one, the most popular and the most widely used is React Native because it has been developed by Facebook. It has been in market for literally 5 to 6 plus years. And the second one is Flutter. Flutter came into picture for almost like past 3 to 4 years, but it has been developed by Google and widely used by many startups. So it is also getting a traction. It is also getting a heat. And then there comes Ionic, Xamarin, Cordova, and blah 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 blah. There are too many of them. Hold on. Here are the uh, pros and cons of each of all them. You can compare. Cross-platform. Why should you use the cross-platform tools? First of all, the biggest question is about the budget. If you are a single team of very minimum team and you need to develop an app for both Android and iOS, it can get tricky. You need to hire two individual teams, one to develop an iOS, one to develop an Android. For both of them, you need to learn two minimum two languages, two different languages, understand two different, completely different UIs and stuff. So it can get tricky and it is really expensive. But to get started, you can hire just a single team which can develop a cross-platform app. Developing an application for different platforms such as iOS and Android is often very expensive. In order to minimize your budget, you may have to reduce the budget or only on choosing one platform. So you might have noticed there are many startups which are only on available to the Android, which haven't been yet developed for the iOS. Such as the biggest example is M Indicator. If you are from Mumbai, you would definitely know that M Indicator is not available for iOS. The another thing you can do is reduce the budget by using platform development. For to pro, the biggest advantage is you have to just understand a single language. You just have to learn a single framework and develop as many apps as for multi-platform, which is iOS and Android both. Of course, developing a solution for a specific domain or a specific platform, then it is not the best choice for you. If you want to develop, for example, you can have a chat forum app only on for Android. So there is no point in developing that app for iOS as well. So you don't need to understand the cross-platform. But okay, so moving further, I will like to tell you a little bit about all these tools. First one is React Native. React Native is the best choice of the cross-platform framework as it is based upon JavaScript. You all definitely must have heard about JavaScript. JavaScript is a script language widely used for web development. If you get that same option for Android development as well, if you already know the JavaScript, then React Native is the go platform for you guys. It is an ideal tool to develop enterprise level applications. Now moving further to Flutter, Flutter is well suited framework to develop high platform web apps as it is based upon Google's in-house Dart language. Dart language came around in scenario, it launched around 2012 and it has been under constantly upgrading. So it is a lot faster code writing and execution features to the developer. Comparatively, as compared to React Native, the development in Flutter is very easier, very faster, and the execution features for the developers are extremely great. Now moving further to Ionic, with a strong community support and vast libraries of React native components, it allows developers to develop high-performing applications for both iOS and Android. Then there is Xamarin and Cordova. Both are open source platforms, open source cross-platform app development tools where you can develop apps for both Android, iOS, and Windows as well. Moving further, here are pros and cons of each tool. So first of all, there are languages. Which languages you need for Flutter? You need only a single language, that is Dart. You don't need to understand the whole project structure or anything. There is only one language. Then for Ionic, you can develop it in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript or TypeScript. For Xamarin, you need C Sharp, .NET environment, and which is nobody uses anymore these days, which needs a Visual Studio, and it is a vast tool. Then there comes the React Native. It requires JavaScript for Android and Swift or Objective C for iOS as well. Then there comes performance. Comparatively, Flutter has the highest ranking in performance of the apps, developed apps. Ionic stands the lowest. Xamarin and React Native are somewhere in between. Then there is GUI. GUI controllers are extremely handy for Flutter, Xamarin, and React Native, whereas in Ionic, you need to have HTML, CSS for UI. Then there is market, community, and support. The React Native has the strongest base because it has been around in community for really, really long time. Whereas Flutter, even though it is new for only on almost 3 to 4 years, it is still growing. Then there comes the use cases. The apps developed in React Native and Flutter, all sorts of apps can be developed. All sorts of industrial grade apps can be developed in Flutter and React Native. Whereas Xamarin and Ionic are not that advanced. They are just used for developing a simple app such as static apps. Then there comes the code reusability. In React Native, you can use the 90% of code. You can reuse the 90% of code, whereas in Flutter, you can reuse only on 50 to 90% of code. So in that scenario, the Xamarin and React Native are extremely handy. Now, a heated topic: cross-platform versus React Native development. Why this is an extremely heated topic? Because there are so many options for cross-platform and so many options for only on two options for native development. But there are multiple points that you need to weigh out before choosing a single platform. The first topic would be your base, your use case. What sort of an app you need to develop? As I said earlier, if you need to develop an app that is used for a forum only on for Android users, so why would you need to develop the same app for iOS as well? So in that scenario, the cross-platform does not work out. The iOS does not work out. In that scenario, Android is the clear, obvious choice. But if imagine you are a startup, you need to launch a product on both Android and iOS. You do not have enough time to carry out to develop to hire two different teams. Neither do you have budget nor the time. So then in that scenario, the Flutter is the best choice because the Flutter is extremely faster and execution tools are very really handy. Then there's cross-platform development. You can save up 80% of your budget, and deployments to other platforms require a little investment. Then there comes the other option. Should use development. For example, there are many components which are only accessible in native development. For example, you may need to access a component that is at kernel level, OS level. The cross-platform tools do not have access to the kernel level system or the tools. So in that scenario, you may need to still use the native development. For example, I can tell you sorry, null signals or stuff. Moving further, the brief comparison between the native versus the cross-platform. In native, the pros of native is security because those apps are developed and matched with the kernel level OS. So it gives you much more security, energy conservation, speed, immediate use of mobile technologies, including the new ones. The latest features do not come in handy in our cross-platform, but whereas it is really accessible to on your native development. Then in cross-platform, the pros of cross-platform are that they are extremely fast and it reduces the primary cost of development. So for native, the primary cost is the con because you need to hire two different teams to develop both apps, and it can get a little bit out of budget. The cons of cross platforms are that lack of experts. There are lots of tools such as Xamarin, Ionic, Cordova. For that, you may not find a strong community. There are risks of failing and so. So you need to carry out all these comparisons before choosing your best case scenario for developing a tool. Now, moving to another question. Why is Flutter the optimum choice for mobile app development? Why should you opt Flutter before or React Native, Cordova, Ionic, Xamarin? Your answer is Google Flutter. The answer lies within the name. Google Flutter is Google. We all know Google is the lead, the topmost. I know learning about any history is the most tedious task, but Flutter will not make you feel sick and tired. Let's take a quick walk of introduction. Flutter is the free open source software development kit (SDK) used to develop high performing Android and both iOS applications with a single code base. Its dynamic cross-platform framework launched in Google launched by Google in 2018. With all the integrated widgets and tools, the result comes in faster development. Personally, from my opinion, the best feature about Flutter is fast reload. I can tell you from my own experience, in my PC, if I had to develop an app to just to build the Gradle, I had to take like 40 minutes break. My laptop used to take almost like 40 minutes just to build a single Gradle. But now, whenever I'm using Flutter, it takes literally zero point 0.2 seconds or 0. Maximum 3 seconds to reload that app. Whenever you are writing a code and whenever you hit the Control plus S, it immediately shows the changes within my app. For example, if you are doing, you are developing a button. For that button, you have set the background color to be white, and in Android or in any another native development, just to reflect that same output on your cell phone, it would take almost like 20 to 25 minutes to show the output. But in Flutter, it takes literally zero point 0.2 seconds or maximum 0.3 seconds to reflect the difference. Now moving to another topic, Flutter is empowered with layered structure. So a developer can build and highly customize and attractive apps and solutions in extremely less time without compromising with the performance. Performance is also great. Now, most crucial part in Flutter is everything as a widget. Earlier, I said in Android development, everything is an activity or a service. But here in Flutter, everything is a widget. The button you click on is a widget. The background is a widget. The app is a widget. Everything is a widget. So it can get a little hectic to understand, but once you get started, it is extremely easy. Now, the pros of Flutter. It is its language. It has a single language, just Dart, which has been out for almost 8 to 9 years since 2012. So it is pretty much stable. You have a strong community. Even if you find any, if you run into any sort of maintenance, multi-platform portability. Recently, Google also launched it in web development as also. So and also it supports and maintenance. Google provides everything: the support and maintenance and community tutorials, the tech talks and all this stuff. So it comes really handy. Uh, if many of you are developers, then must know the Stack Overflow. Every year, they by the end of the quarter, they conduct a developer survey. In that survey, all those developers were asked a question: which cross-platform tool you would use in 2020? 2020, almost 75% of people voted for Flutter, that they would choose Flutter over React Native, Xamarin, or Cordova, which is a huge deal because whatever the developers do, it comes into the market, and whenever it comes to the market, it comes a hit sensation, and so you guys need to understand that as well. This is how development this is just a Hello World app. Hello World basic of Flutter, and yet it looks so elegant. The design and page, the colors, the font, everything looks great. Why? Because Material UI is already integrated. Then this is good look. As I said earlier, everything is a widget. You see this button here is also the text message you see here is also a widget. The background, the scaffold, everything is a widget here. The another feature of Flutter that I love the most is you don't need IDE to develop. For native development for iOS, you need an Xcode. for Android development, you must have the Android Studio. But for Flutter, you can just use VS Code, which is vastly used. Then there are drawing components on the screen. You all must have heard about the founder of Flutter. He previously he was a web developer. So the key difference between app development and web development is whenever you create a tool, let's just say you create a button, that button will be the button will be retrieved from the OS. So the app will ask the OS to create a button on the but in scenario of web development, the browser only asks the OS to provide a blank screen. So OS will just provide a blank screen, and the app itself would design and draw the components on the screen, which is extremely faster as compared to asking the OS to retrieve the data for you. So that is why that was the first thing that came to the mind of the founder. So he decided, instead of asking the OS or the kernel to design all this stuff for the app itself would create and develop all these tools and design the tools. So instead of creating, we can say it just draws the tools upon the screen. The OS provides only on a back screen, and Flutter app, whichever the code is we write here, will design and draw the tools over here. So as you all already must have guessed, it is really faster. I would like to tell you all a quote that I always go by. Don't, do not, never reinvent the wheel. Just realign it. As a industry, Anthony D'Angelo said, don't reinvent the wheel, just realign it. If you have resources, use those resources instead of creating all those resources by yourself. There is a difference between hard work and smart work. You need for smart work, you use the resources. In hard work, you create the resources. In industry, the hard work doesn't matter. The smart work does, because we are developers, we are engineers. हम लोग को जुगाड़ करना या तुम लोग को जुगाड़ करना ही पसंद है. And the final part of our introduction session, the documentation. Documentation. You all already know. Whenever you buy a cell phone, laptop, or even just a silly thing, anything you buy, there always comes a manual. That manual is a documentation. That manual provides you how to use that app, how to use that laptop, how to press the button, and everything. So that is what the documentation is. This is this is just a basic example visualization how the documentation looks. Here you could explain them how to use the keys, how to use the buttons and stuff. So whenever you are developing an app, you need to have a documentation. As you might have already seen on GitHub, we read readme.md. It is a markdown file where you can graphically show users how to use your app and give proper instructions and links and resources. And the if you all already know, the worst thing about documentation is it is extremely long, because the documentation contains the basic instructions of all. If I have to tell you easily, his name is as equal to the documentation, and just like that, the documentation never ends. Yes, they use Wikipedia as documentation. For it could be Wikipedia, Stack Overflow, or any another tools you find, or any another blog you may find online. But all those tools are not updated, whereas documentation is updated every day, every time to time. So you all always should use the actual documentation, because I can say that from experience, when I tried to understand the Firebase and stuff, I created so damn many mistakes. I did so damn many mistakes that it took me literally minimum 3 to 4 days just to reverse my mistake. So that is why you all always use a documentation. And I believe almost we are done. If any of you have already any, you can just hit me up right now on slido.com Teams tool. Hold on, guys. You can just go here and ask me any of the questions, either here or the Microsoft Teams tool. Now we will proceed with the Q&A section. See, it can mean either one thing or another, that you understood everything or you did not understand any a single thing. So I would highly recommend that you guys do ask any of the questions that you might have. Then looks like as if you guys do not have any questions, or do you? Where is the Q&A? Okay, there are lots of questions that I missed already. Sorry. Okay. Uh, Compare Java versus Kotlin versus Flutter. So there is one thing. Java is the original language where everyone started developing apps. But recently, Java has been facing some traction, and most of the industrial grade companies are moving on to the Kotlin. And Kotlin is much faster and more readable as compared to Java. You might have seen the memes on Instagram, how ridiculous and how boring the Java language might be, but let me tell you one thing, that it is really widely used language. Then there is Kotlin. Most of the companies are migrating to Kotlin as we are speaking right now. Then there is Flutter. Flutter is extremely handy and faster and easier and developer friendly for the developers. Therefore, people are migrating to Flutter for creating a cross-platform application. Then Aditya also asked another question. I am learning Android app development using Java. I was just started before a month. Can I continue with Java or shift to KT or slash Flutter? So Aditya, I would like to suggest you one thing to understand all the deep basic functionalities such as Java. Java easily explains you the properties of OOPs, that are object-oriented programming language. The features of OOPs are class and object, the inheritance, the polymorphism. All these features you can easily understand with the Java. So I would suggest that you should understand the Java first and then migrate to Kte, which will be a lot easier as compared to directly moving onto the Kte. And so if you are just doing this for fun or not industrial grade, you can always choose the Flutter, because Flutter is also industrial grade, but it has just released the 1.20 version of it. So it is stable, but it does not provide all the basic necessities that industrial grade apps need, such as OS requirements and stuff. Another question asked by Aditya. I want to learn Android development as well as want to do competitive programming. Which one is help me for placement? What is more profitable for placement? See, uh, uh, Android development. Android, there are companies. If you are developing just an Android, you will be able to you will be applicable for only on one domain. But if you are doing a competitive programming helps you create a mindset. It helps you create a sorry, hold on. It helps you understand the solving. It creates your problem solving ability in your mind. So I would suggest, before Android app development, if you have just time for only on one, then competitive programming is to go, because you will understand various languages. You can just choose either one or explore on as many languages as you want, and the first one, the only thing that industry needs from a developer is problem solving ability. You can understand the framework within a week or at max within a month. But the mindset to solve the problem, you need to have it. The company is not going to ask you whether you can develop an app or a website. The company is going to ask you whether can you solve this problem or not. Then there is another question asked by Aditya as well. If I completed Android app development using Java, then it will helpful for me to shift to KT, Flutter or not? Yes, it is. I also studied the Java first and then migrated to Kotlin or KT. And Flutter is something that I started almost like 4 to 5 months ago. Then what is native app, hybrid app development? So whenever you are using Android Studio for developing the Android, or you are using Xcode to develop the iOS app, those are native app development. Native app development mostly works if you are developing an app for only on one platform, and hybrid app development is kind of similar to cross-platform, but hybrid also gives you reach to the basic components of Android or either iOS. Android Studio or AVD. Smoothly. Specifications for development. That is really the funny thing. You might have seen in our description where I said that the problems that I faced while developing the app. The first problem was my PC. My PC is my configuration for my PC is like i3 second generation from 2012. It is extremely slow, so I would recommend at least i5 seventh generation or sixth generation, and the processor either Intel. I would recommend at least uh, RAM. I would recommend at least 8 to 12 GB. Then that are the features. You should have a graphics card, which I do not have. That is the result why. That is the reason why my app takes almost 40 plus minutes to build the Gradle. Then some code of Flutter can be run on Windows software as well. It is still under development. They do not have the stable version for it out yet. In Visual Studio, drag and drop feature is available for Flutter, and Dart is compulsory for UI. In Android Studio, yes, you can drag and drop the tools from the palette, but in Dart, as I said, everything is a widget. So you cannot just drag and drop the widget. You have to write the code for it. But it is extremely easy. You just have to write at least maximum 1 to 2 lines for a single widget, and within the parameters you can pass all the necessary information. So it is not that hectic. Any alternative of Android Studio for low-end PC? Which I would have known, but I am also using Android Studio for native development, and for cross-platform Flutter, I am using VS Code, which is a lot faster than Android Studio. Can you explain about TensorFlow Lite? Yes, the TensorFlow. It's a very easy confidence. Confidence, I do not know. These are my friends that encourage me a lot. They give me this platform where I can share my stuff that I am going through with you all guys. As I said earlier, I am one of your fellow students. I may be a senior classmate or even a junior. So these guys help me, encourage me to move further. So that is where I get all my confidence. The applications that you develop, you can deploy them upon Play Store. On Play Store, you need to have an account created as a developer, which may cost you around like $25. Whereas for iOS, you need to have a yearly subscription to the App Store, where you have to pay every single year. Comparatively, Google's Play Store is much cheaper, and you can develop as many apps as you want. You just have to create one time membership. Yes, Aditya, Aditya, are you also from DYP COE? So that we can contact further. I am on also the group DSA DYP COE group, or else you can find me upon the community page. You do know about the community page, right? On community page, you will find my Twitter handle or as my Gmail or LinkedIn profile. So you can connect me from there. And moving further to MS Teams. Thank you, Damu Kharad, for the appreciation. Is there anything else that you guys would like to ask?
And yes, I can see one question and answer, like the latest question on Slido. How much time is required to ship from Java to Flutter? That one. Or did you answer that question? Could you just give information on that?
Sorry, Akash, I couldn't hear you. You were saying something?
I was saying that there's a latest question on Slido about like how much time is required to ship from Java to Flutter. Like, did you answer that question, or like, because there was some network issue at my end, so just wanted to confirm.
Sorry, hold on. Is my audio also there? Are there any distortions in my audio? Or I can hear you clearly. Can you use the text chat?
No. The internet issue was at my end, so I could not hear you. Like, did you answer that question? The last one, like, how much time is required to ship from Java? Like,
Okay, so
the latest question, the latest question section. So,
okay, so which questions would you want me to answer again?
no, the last one, latest question.
Java versus Kotlin versus Flutter.
No,
Kamlesh? I think Akash is asking about how much time is required to shift from Java to Flutter after completing development using Java.
yes.
Okay. Java to Flutter, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. It took me almost like a month and a half to get started developing the static apps such as like calendar, calculator, phone contacts app. Those basic apps you can understand within a very small amount of time, because understanding the framework is easy part, but having the problem solving ability is another thing. So it doesn't matter which platform you have already previously used. You could have used React Native or anything, but you need to know what are the features, what are the components of that tool. So in Java you have activities. So comparatively in Flutter you have widgets. In widgets you can just create multiple screen or stuff. So that is how you can proceed further. So it shouldn't take, for beginners, it may take almost like a month and a half or 2 months to get started. For developing an actual industrial grade app, it may take 3 to 4 months. I am still learning. I do not consider myself any far from you guys. Okay. Anything else, guys? Can you suggest a useful project for beginners? Yes. First of all, for beginners, you can design and develop a single app, a small app, a static app such as a calculator, a camera app, or contacts app, or a timer clock. For when you get at intermediate level, you can start developing apps such as blog apps. Those do not need to have immediate features such as you can publish the app all over the globe. At least you can publish the app on your cell phone and then show it to your friends. It is also a huge deal. I can say that from experience. It took me almost like 2.5 years to get at where I am, and it is because of maybe the resources or anything else. But you guys are great, and I believe you can do much better than me. Uh, Another thing, when will we start development course from DY Patil? Yes, we will be soon. When we finish with the introduction to the all domains, which would be either this weekend or the next weekend. After that, we will share out the form, which will ask for what are the times and conveniences for everybody, and we would create a proper schedule for each and every lecture and courses and syllabus for all domains, and it would be rolled out immediately. So it's either this weekend or next weekend. I guess I'm right, Akash?
Yes, Kamlesh. One more thing I wanted to add to in Aditya's question, like the competitive programming. If Aditya, if you want to get started with competitive programming, we have our upcoming session just tomorrow, scheduled tomorrow, where we'll be starting giving you a brief introduction of what is competitive programming and how to proceed in this field and how you can excel it. So you can even attend that session and get some idea about what is competitive programming is. And so, are there any more questions, Kamlesh?
No, none that I can see.
Oh,
What I
okay,
learned
yeah,
first,
just
Android. Sorry, there is one question from Aditya. What do I learn first, Android or the software? I would recommend you, first of all, you understand the Android, because in Android, as I said earlier, there are content providers, there are activities, intent. There is a lot that we can undertake. The sessions would be really long. This is just an introduction session, so I was just wanted you guys to not get stressed or overwhelmed. So I try to keep it as minimum as possible. And there are a lot of as we saw earlier, there is structures, architectures, components, activities, intent. So I would recommend you first understand the Android and then move further to the development, or you can do that concurrently as well. And while doing that, you will understand while actually doing. There is a guy on your Twitter who always uses this hashtag learning by doing. While you are creating, you would also understand, rather than spending a whole time just understanding and then developing. So that would be my ending note. Over to you, Akash.
okay. So I guess there are no more doubts because this session was in itself a very informative session because I covered the most tools used for developing Android apps, as well as some introduction to Android. So I guess all of you must have got a brief idea about what is Android and development and how to proceed with it. And as Kamlesh mentioned, we have sessions planned according to the interests of people, like the technology which they are most interested in. So we'll be proceeding with them further. So all you have to just do is be a member of our club, the SCDYPCOE. If you haven't already filled the form, you can just go to bit.ly/DSCDYPCOE and you can fill out that form and become a member of our club. And for further updates, you can join us on our community page. Kamlesh, can you just show them our community page? You can give them an
Yes,
idea.
yes. Sorry guys, as I said earlier, it is a pretty old laptop and it does have its pros and cons. So sorry for the delay.
Okay, so this is a community page, and as you can see here, the events are listed. Uh, so this is our event which you are currently attending, and similarly, you will have some other events listed here as well. Yeah, so this is our homepage, community page. Here, if you scroll down, you will see the upcoming event tomorrow, which is competitive programming, and you can just RSVP from here and you can then attend. Also, if you missed out our previous sessions, you can find the recording links present in the event section. You have to just go there, and you'll find the recording link on our YouTube channel as well. So yes, could you just put this link in our chat box, Kamlesh, the community page link?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great.
On the community page, you can find all the previous and upcoming events. Also, the details about our club. You can join the club for all the future events that you don't wanna miss. Then there are these organizers and our core committee team, such as our faculty manager, ARWare lead, cybersecurity lead. Here you will find our mostly all the stuff such as, even if in case you might have had missed another session, such as the great one of the great sessions of Praful, uh, demystifying intelligence. So under see what happened in that event. You can find the recordings of that event. See here it is a YouTube link. You can just watch the whole session here. You can share that with all your interested friends. You can see what Praful did and said all those things to the friends. See the memes and stuff. And by the end of this introductory session of all those domains, we will roll out a form, or else you can just, if you are already registered, you can just go to the link just mentioned by Akash, and you can edit which domains you want. For example, there are almost like 8 to 9 domains: competitive programming, Android web development, AI, ML, ARVR. So at most there will be two sessions, sorry, two batches. First one, in first batch you can select only a maximum max to max two domains per user. Then we will proceed further. We will create the a proper texting chain link, and you will find all those available resources and stuff on that message link. Is there anything else that I should mention, Akash?
No, Kamlesh, I guess we are done for the day, like for the session. So it was great having you all guys in this session, and it, so it was a very informative session, Kamlesh, and thank you for giving us information, like this wonderful information. So yes, you for the participants, you just need to stay tuned on our community page for upcoming events, and we have a lot more for you all guys. So yeah, that's it for today, and I guess we can disperse for today, right, Kamlesh?
Yes, and on the ending note, I would highly like to recommend each and every one of you to join on our community page and recommend all your friends, because there are a lot of informative and on-point stuff given by our core team. Each and every one of us are working our asses off to create this stuff. So hope you all enjoy it and find what you are exactly looking for each and every domain. And if not, if you have any kind of doubts or questions, you can always visit our community page on contact any of our domain leads. They are all great to and helping. So hope you have fun. Bye guys.
Thank you guys for joining us, and have a great day ahead. Thank you.